Thank you.
Hi, I'm Manu. I'm a sophomore at Stanford. And all of your work has been bringing people from place A to B in the fastest and the most environmentally friendly manner. There's also another kind of research happening in the Valley where people are trying to avoid transportation at all. We call it virtual reality, right? So I can be in my dorm and I can see you speaking with the same level of contact on my Oculus Rift as I am here right now taking the Caltrain or the Tesla or even a SpaceX rocket in the future. How do you think will virtual reality tie in the future of transportation which you are working on? Thank you.
Well, maybe we're in a simulation right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously. Sometimes feels like that. Yeah, I mean, I think it is going to, from what I've heard of Oculus Rift and some of the other immersive technologies, that it's quite transformative. You really feel like you're there. And then when you come out of it, it feels like reality isn't real. So I think we'll see probably less physical movement in the future as a result of the virtual reality stuff. Yeah.
And when we come out of what we're here now into this virtual reality, we'll think it's real. I mean, it's like we're...
Well, I mean, there's some interesting things here on the virtual reality front. I mean, just on the whole notion of a simulation, which is that if you extrapolate into the future and say, well, how good, let's say, will video games be in 100 or 200 or 1,000 years from now? If there's continued improvement and you're in a full-body haptic suit with a sort of surround vision, and it becomes, beyond a certain resolution, indistinguishable from reality. And there are likely to be millions, maybe billions of such simulations. So then, what are the odds that we're actually in base reality? Isn't it 1 in billions?
Is it? I mean, I can give the counter argument, but I'd rather you give the counter argument.
Obviously, this feels real, but it seems unlikely to be real.
My name is Danielle. I'm an architect from Palo Alto. I just completed a net zero passive house, and I'm now a fellow at the Stanford Business School. And I'm working with a group of students on a project to come up with the most innovative ways to solve big problems in cities. And we've identified Detroit as our prime target. 2 questions. What do you see as citywide innovation? And since women don't ask, as we're taught, I'm going to ask, would you come down to Stanford and brainstorm on this with us?
This may sound trite, but I honestly think tunnels should be given a lot more consideration. If you look at a city, you have all these apartment buildings and office buildings, and they're on many levels. Like they're, could be like an average of, in Manhattan, I don't know what is an average of like 30 stories or something like that. But then you've got a street, which is 1 story. This is an obvious issue. Like you have a 30-to-1 ratio of,
So you should have multi-layered highways, underground, stacked up.
Yeah, and you can have tunnels the tunnels don't have to follow the buildings. They can go diagonally.
Through the basement, yeah.
Yeah, and you can have as many levels as you want. So it's really just the cost of building the tunnels. But really, a tunnel's a hole in the ground. Like, how hard can it really be? I mean, just... So it seems like if some entrepreneurs put their effort into building tunnels, cost effectively, it would be transformative to cities around the world. I'll certainly consider giving a talk. I mean, I'm in Palo Alto every week, so I'd certainly be open to it, sure.
What other things besides, tunnels, hyperloops you've talked about, other things that are great visions that could transform our daily, what we call reality, which I assume is reality for the moment?
Yeah, I mean, within cities, it's sort of tunnels and tubes, and for long distance travel, I really think that the vertical takeoff and landing electric supersonic aircraft is the way to go. Right. I think it's very doable. So that would be the way to go for long distance transportation, like for if you're going more than like 500 miles, because then you have any to any. You solve the any to any problem over a long distance. For shorter distances, because you have a time to climb and a time to descend penalty, below 500 miles, aircraft are not as good. So that's why I think sort of some sort of evacuated tube is a better way to travel.
What is an evacuated tube?
Well, just something where you've reduced the air density so that the drag is dramatically reduced. Then it's as though you got teleported to altitude.
Right.
And you can go much faster and not have to have the climb and descend issues.
Hi, I'm Lawrence. I'm a sophomore at Stanford, and I run a music startup. We all know that you have all those really crazy ideas in the best way possible, but how do you come up with those ideas? Could you tell me more about your creative process? And also, once you have those great ideas, how do you go about capitalizing those really ambitious ideas if you have very few limited financial resources?
Well, I think the great thing about sort of software or anything which just involves intellectual capital of you and you and a few friends, is that you can just do it. So that's why doing some sort of internet thing or software thing is great as an initial company to create. And that's why Zip2 and PayPal, they gave me the capital to attempt to do more capital-intense activities. As far as idea generation, I think when I tend to think of things from a sort of physics standpoint, like from a first principle standpoint, what would be the best way to accomplish something, and then pursue that. And that's also a good way to determine if there's if something's far from its optimum. Like on rockets, for example, one could say, that you could reason by analogy and say the rocket's going to cost a certain amount because that's what prior rockets have cost. Or you can say, well, what is a rocket made of? What are the material constituents? What do they weigh? What's the cost per unit mass? And that sets the limit asymptotically for what a rocket can be. So if you can figure out some creative way to rearrange those elements into a rocket shape, then you can achieve a much better outcome. That's the first principles approach. And I think also just combining ideas from different industries is really helpful for innovation. So what have people discovered in one industry, and can that be applied to other industries? That's, I think, also a great source of ideas. But you usually just struggle on a solution, and you try a bunch of things. Some of them don't work, and most of them don't work, and occasionally one does. Yeah.
You mentioned the startup of PayPal, which is a great innovation that happened in sort of how we pay for things. That seems to me an area in which there hasn't been as much subsequent innovation other than Bitcoin as there should be. In other words, quickly transferring money, especially to people you don't know or whatever, is, to me, maybe I'm wrong, far more difficult than it seems like it should be. Are you somewhat disappointed with the way PayPal then proceeded, or are you disappointed with the lack of innovation in the digital currency environment?
Yeah, PayPal has definitely, it hasn't moved much since from when it was sort of bought by eBay. The long-term vision that I had for PayPal, or sort of in sort of finance, was to well, it sounds a bit strange, like to convert the financial system from a series of heterogeneous, insecure databases to one database. Mm-hmm. Or, well, not one database, but maybe there'd be like a few more. The money is just a number in a database. That's what it is. and it's primarily an information mechanism for labor allocation. And the current databases are not very efficient. Like there are these old legacy mainframes that don't talk to each other very well, have poor security, and only do batch processing once a day.
Are you glad PayPal is being spun off?
It's probably the right move.
And what would you do with it?
Well, I think I converted it into more of a full-service financial institution. So you want to do all the things that a consumer. You want to have like all the financial services that somebody needs in one place, seamlessly integrated together and easy to use. And I think really care about the consumer. I think a lot of banks don't seem to care that much about the customer. So I think there's an opportunity to be like a really good bank, effectively, but much more than what people think of as
Do you
a bank.
think Bitcoin will be disruptive in that way? I mean, now it's a speculative currency. Will it be something that will be what normal consumers will use and will disrupt the banking industry?
Now, my opinion of Bitcoin is that, I think Bitcoin is probably a good thing, but it's essentially, its main thing will be, I mean, this will probably get quoted here and there, but I think it's primarily going to be a means of doing illegal transactions. But that's not necessarily entirely bad. It's not, some things shouldn't be illegal. But
The combination of Silk Road and Bitcoin will save us?
well, it will be useful for legal and illegal transactions. Otherwise, it would have no value as a use of for legal transactions, because you have to have a legal to illegal bridge.
Yeah.
I don't own any Bitcoin. By the way.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you get the last word, sir.
I promise it'll be fast, Elon. Bob Schukai from Thomson Reuters. India just launched a mission to Mars, $75 million to get that thing. Was it, as Astro Teller said, a miracle? Or is there something fundamental about the Indian space industry that allowed them to do a mission like that for so cheap? And if so, is there something that we can pick up and learn from that?
I think it's a very impressive mission, given that it was executed by a government entity. That's like really, really impressive. Impressive no matter who's doing it, but from a cost standpoint, impressive because it's being done by a government entity. Ultimately, we have to be able to do missions to Mars for much less than that. Otherwise, it'll be impossible to establish a self-sustaining civilization on Mars. Because we'll have to transport millions of tons of cargo, millions of people, and the cost of moving to Mars has to be affordable. Otherwise, people won't be able to go. So it has to ultimately come down by a couple orders of magnitude from that level.
Sub $1 million then.
A couple orders of magnitude, I'd say well below $1 million, yeah.
Elon Musk, great innovator. Thank you very much. And good luck tomorrow. We'll be looking to see what was right under our nose when you announce it tomorrow, sir.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you.